Almost 1,000 teams take part in the X-Culture project every semester. And we test all the time why some teams do better than others. One thing that predicts how well the team will do is the presence, if the team spend the time to develop a team charter. So let me talk a little bit about why and how you want to write a team charter. Why? Well, first of all, because the data show the teams that spend time on writing the team charter, they're happier, they're more satisfied with one another and with the project, they have less stress, and they actually have fewer surprises, but most importantly, they do write better work, better reports. So it may seem like a waste of time to spend the time on writing the team charter when you can actually be working on the task itself. But the data show that the time that you will spend on the team charter will save you much more time down the road when you start working as a team. Now, there are many, many guides on how to write a team charter, and we looked at them and eventually we decided or recommend that it works best when you keep it simple. You discuss in this document, which is basically a team contract, the following things. So your team goals, communication, leadership, roles, what if, and performance appraisal. So it works best when you simply literally have a Skype meeting with all the team members, or maybe have a joint shared Google Docs document where everybody just writes and then you have a final document together somehow that way. And that's what you discuss. And let me talk about each of those separately so you know what to put in each of those sections. The important thing is that each of those sections does not have to be more than one sentence, maybe one paragraph. So you don't have to make it, turn it into a large document. The best team charters will be like half a page to maybe 1 page. And this is what you put in that. The goal. You discuss what your goal is, your goal as a team, and put it on paper. Maybe you would agree that you would like to win this competition and you will do whatever it takes to win it. That's a very good goal. Or maybe you agree that you participate in it only because your boss told you, only because it's part of your course. You don't care about winning the competition. You just want to get the grade, a good grade with a minimum effort. And you can agree on that. We don't play games. We're just going to get it in and out as quickly as possible, get the good grades, and forget about it. Or maybe you want to have fun. Maybe you don't care about winning the competition. You don't care how much time it takes, but you want to have some fun in the process. All of those are legitimate goals. And as long as you agree on one of them, put them on paper, that's perfectly fine. Communication, probably the most important part of your team charter. So that's where you discuss how you communicate. So what tools you use. Email, Skype, Dropbox, Google Docs, whatever, and frequency, how often. So this section can read something like this. We will exchange at least 3-4 emails per week and have a live Skype meeting every week on Saturdays at 10 a.m. EST. We will use Dropbox for sharing and co-editing files. Can be something else, but something like this would be good. You have a plan, you stick with it, everything goes well. Leadership. That's where you discuss and then put on paper whether or not you want to have a leader. And if you want to have a leader, who that leader is. So this section can read something like this. John Smith will be the team coordinator. He will be collecting and integrating everyone's input, sending reminders when needed, and helping with coordinating our efforts otherwise. John is not our boss, only a person whose role is to help with coordination. Again, you can have a person with more powers as a leader, or maybe you don't want to have any. But the important thing is that you discuss it and put it on paper. Because what happens in many cases, teams don't talk about it, and then everybody is kind of shy and doesn't want to take the responsibility. They would be willing to, but they feel that it will, be wrongly perceived by the team. So you might want to discuss it, and it's always a good idea to put someone in charge of coordinating your team's efforts. Roles. Again, you might want to discuss who will be doing what. One of the biggest mistakes team can make is to divide the workload by the report section and hope that everybody will do a good job. So they would say, for example, John, you will work on marketing. Sarah, you will work on management. Mark, you will work on market analysis. You have 8 weeks. Bring your chapter back 1 day before the deadline. We will copy and paste it all in one document and submit the final document. What happens in cases like this is that at least one team member doesn't do his work on time or does a very lousy job, maybe plagiarizes the whole thing, and the team discovers about it only like literally before the deadline when there is no time to fix the problem. Moreover, even when everybody tries to do their best, what happens in many cases is the work style, the writing style is so different that when you put it all in one document, it just feels like parts of separate different documents. So it's always a good idea to divide the workload differently, and the better approach would be to do it by function, or if it's by section, make sure that everybody contributes to every section at least at the stage of the initial brainstorming, and maybe then reviews everybody else's work at the end. Because the biggest asset you as a team have is basically team wisdom, group wisdom, collective wisdom. If you ask John to write the marketing section, that marketing section can only be as good as John will make it, but not any better, because John is the only person working on it. If you work on it as a team, even if it's only initially doing a little research and then exchanging ideas and giving John some input, and then in the end checking his work and providing some final corrections and input, you can do it better than anyone of you can do it individually. So it's always a good idea to do it that way. So you can divide the workload by section, which is fine. But in this case, we strongly recommend that you all brainstorm it first, and then in the end, everybody checks every section. Or maybe by function. Maybe John will be the coordinator, and maybe Wanson will be doing market analysis. But maybe then Sarah Clark will do management, and maybe she will also be a copy editor because she's a native speaker. So all of those would be fine. So something like what I have here on the page would be a good section for this, would be good wording of this section. So whatever you decide is fine as long as you agree and everybody knows what he or she is supposed to do. What if? This is a tough section, but it's always good to discuss it in advance. What happens if? And the ifs commonly are someone stops working. Maybe the person is traveling. Maybe the person is sick, or maybe busy, or maybe just lazy. What if? What if you rely on John to do it and he just doesn't do it? What will you do as a team? Or what will you do if somebody does a poor job? It's the last day of the project, you have to submit it tomorrow, somebody submits his section to the team, and you realize it's been completely plagiarized. What will you do in this case? Or if you have a conflict, how are you going to manage it? Will you go to the professors, to the bosses, to the coaches, deal with it yourself? So this section can read something like this. If a team member has to be away for a while, the team member must inform the team in advance. If someone does a poor job, the person will be expected to redo it. If a conflict occurs, we'll talk about it and we'll try to work it out among ourselves. But if that doesn't help, we'll ask for a coach. If someone is unfriendly or unprofessional, we'll vote that person out of the team. So that would be a nice thing to put in place so that everybody knows what to expect. Evaluation. We used to not put this or recommend to put it on team charter, but here is why I recommend that you discuss it. Many teams, not many, but some teams, collude on grades. So they basically agree to give everyone 5 no matter what. And they think that this will make the team look better. This is a very bad idea because, first of all, your peer evaluations will not improve your chances of winning the competition. We don't use peer evaluations for determining the winning team. So we use peer evaluations to track your performance and if there is a problem to provide help. And if you tell us each week that everybody is doing perfectly fine and everybody gets 5s, then in that case, if something does go wrong, we will not be able to know about it and will not be able to help. Second, sometimes some team members don't do a good job, and maybe you would be better off excluding that person from the team, giving that person low peer evaluations and maybe getting a replacement. But if you give everybody 5s, we just would not be able to do it because how can we replace someone when peer evaluations are fine, right? And then most importantly, if you don't put this on paper, if you don't agree that you will be honest and impartial in your evaluations, then if somebody will not do well and you will want to give them low peer evaluations, you may feel kind of guilty. I mean, you're friends now, you like each other. How can you give that person low peer evaluations? That would be unfriendly. But if before you even start working together, before you develop those friendships, if you agree that everybody will be getting fair evaluations, if somebody is not doing well, the person will get low peer evaluations. If somebody is not friendly, we will say the person is not friendly. If somebody is not communicating, we will say the person is not communicating. So if you agree on that in the beginning, then you have no, problems with your conscience because that's what we agreed on. Everybody knows. And most importantly, people will actually work harder because they know you agreed that they will be getting low peer evaluations. So it's always a good idea to put something like this on paper, agree on it and put it on paper. Like, for example, we will be honest and impartial in our weekly peer evaluations. We don't communicate, or you don't communicate, or you don't work, you'll get a 0 or 1. No exceptions for friends. You plagiarize, we report you. The weekly grades reflect your performance, not our friendship. Always a good idea to do that too. Again, it can be a completely different document, but the point here, it's not even what you put on paper. The point here is that you have a discussion about it and you know what to expect and you have some sort of an agreement in place. You can change it down the road, but it's always a good idea to spend some time and discuss it and then put it on paper. All right,